Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Living and Loving with yours truly, Monique McCall, country music, singer, songwriter, recording artist. And today I have a fabulous guest with me. Who's so blessed for this one. 4-time best-selling author, #1 most followed chiropractor in the world. He's sitting here looking at me going, she shouldn't be doing this. The former COO and president on Wall Street after acquiring and running the mega health company Nutrisystem and so many other entrepreneurial endeavors. Today, he is a top business coach, motivational speaker with concierge coaches, and he is working to change the world 5 minutes at a time. Proud father of 2 sons who are following in his footsteps as doctors, happily married for 41 years to his beautiful wife, Bonnie, a man of strong family values. Please welcome here today with me, Coach Dr. Dr. Kaplan. How are you?
I'm thrilled to be here, Monique, and just excited to have a conversation with you and to inspire and motivate others.
And that is what you're doing. Oh my goodness, you have been doing that for your entire lifetime. And I understand that a lot of, your inspiration came from your strong family values that you had growing up, with your father being probably one of the most inspirational people in your life.
My father had a fantastic work ethic. I mean, he was a guy, unfortunately, wasn't able to go to college. Went to World War II. Was a sergeant in the Rangers, received 2 Purple Hearts and a Silver Star. And like many soldiers, like many veterans, they come back and, it's not so easy to get the job or the right job. My father worked 2 jobs his whole life and never bitched. I bitch all the time, but he never complained. I tell my sons, I'm working too hard. This is crazy. But my father never complained. He got up in the morning, had a glass of orange juice for breakfast, and he did 2 jobs. Never got home till 9:30 in the evening. And, it's something that weighs with you. I always say there's 3 ways to lead. 1 is by example. 2 is by example. And 3 is by example. And as parents, as, people, our responsibility really is to lead, to set forth the next generations of greatness that our world will see and looks forward to.
And that's so true. Parenting, I think, is one of the most important jobs that one can do. You can change a child's life by saying something really positive, but you can also change it by saying something really negative, and it can last forever. So you have to be very cautious of how you raise your children. As a parent myself, I realize the impact that I can have on my children, and it can either be positive, it can be negative. And it's such a huge topic these days.
Well, Monique, I say in actually in my last book, which is Can't Stop Me, Going from Ordinary to Extraordinary, that's it. And actually, just so you know this, Monique, not to brag, but listen, it's just us today and probably a zillion viewers. It just hit #1 on the bestseller list. So it'll be my 5th #1 best-selling book.
I was going to ask you that. I wasn't sure yet, so I wasn't going to throw that in there.
So, but I talk about it, because as you said, the subconscious is so important. And the reason I wrote the book Can't Stop Me, because, I said, like, if, I'm not the natural. If Robert Redford was starting the movie The Natural, I was the unnatural. I mean, it just didn't come, naturally to me. And with children, I believe inside of each and every one of us, you and me included, we have 2 dogs. We have the red dog, which is the devil dog. And then we have the white dog, which is the angel dog. Now, all day long, we're in our subconscious, that innate ability, we're feeding one of these dogs. Well, I say the dog you feed the most becomes the dominant dog. And if the red dog is the negative dog, then what we do, and I've watched you as a mother, just so you know, is we feed encouragement, letting them know what their strengths are, and applauding their strengths, and understanding that weaknesses just give us an ability to develop a greater strength, far greater than we ever could have realized. And that, that's what, I try to express in this book, that no matter where you are, it doesn't have to be where you are. You can always take yourself to a higher level. I've told my kids from day one, the road to success is always under construction.
Now, is this your quote?
Yeah.
I was going to ask you that. That was going to be one of my questions because I saw so many great quotes in this book, which I really loved. And I've been mentoring for years, and I loved in the universe, there are no mistakes.
Only lessons.
And I feel so strongly about this quote because a lot of people are held back because they think they made mistakes, but it's just their pathway to the next adventure, the next opportunity. They're not mistakes. They're just little bumps in the road.
I mean, you're a perfect example, Monique. I've watched you sing, and I've watched your music videos and all this stuff. But you and I know as entertainers that sometimes the first take is not always your best take. Sometimes you say, you know what, I could have sung that a little different. I could have done that a little better. And you mold it until you're happy with your performance. Well, in life, it's the same thing. People go to work every day. I used to tell my children every night when they brush their teeth, look in the mirror and ask yourself, was I the best me I could be today? Because no different than us as entertainers, as parents, workers, you go to work every day. Are you giving it your best? I mean, that's how you get promoted. I mean, how did I become the president of a public company? I mean, I'm dealing with people from Harvard. I'm dealing with people from Princeton. I'm dealing with all these schools. But you know what? What I had was an unbelievable work ethic, meaning I used to say to people, I'm going to get up earlier than you and stay up later than you. I'm going to outwork you. I was that way as an athlete. I was that way as a doctor. And I try to be that way as a parent, as a husband, as a father, as a coach to other doctors. I always say average is the best of the worst and the worst of the best. So why be average?
And trying is the weakest form of commitment.
There you go.
That's what I always tell my kids. I'm like, trying is the weakest form of commitment. Just get out there and do it.
That was actually probably, the most brilliant thing that Nike ever did was when they came out with the axiom, just do it. And that's the way it is. And I think a lot of people, Monique, I mean, I'm going to give you an example. I mean, we know that you're beautiful and you're talented, but I'm going to tell you, even now, I know the first time that you had to sing in public, you had to be nervous.
I still get nervous.
There you go.
If you're not nervous, then you're actually not doing your job, I think, because for me, I want to strive for excellence always. And that's what I teach my children as well.
Well, and it shows. Like I said, I've watched your music videos and it really shows. And I didn't know that you were a model. I didn't know that you were such a great dancer. I mean,
I'm not a great dancer.
I was very impressed.
I have 2 left feet.
Listen, in baseball, we say you're a 5-tool player is what we call it. And you know what? And the fact that you say that, Monique, see, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Even though someone might think you're good, we are always so hard on ourselves. We're committed to always becoming better. And we know that the secret to that is our work ethic. And that's something that your daughters will learn from you. And that I learned from people that I live and work with. I mean, I'm a very blessed guy. I mean, I live in a great area and I've met a lot of great people. I mean, I met a guy the other day, at the golf club, Monique, and he was the guy who developed soft soap for the showers. He said, well, people didn't want to use bars all the time. I mean, and someone thought about I'm going to make soft soap. And it was just a great story that people, our imagination. Walt Disney used to make all of his employees every day touch their forehead. And they started the day with saying, my imagination will create my reality. And that's such a powerful tool because really, when you think about it, how do dreams come true? I mean, you're an example, a little girl with a guitar, and all of a sudden you say, you know what? I'm going to become a singer. I made a point at one point in my college career that I was going to be a doctor. And it wasn't an easy path because I didn't know if innately, Monique, I was smart enough. And I'd call my father up to complain, right, Dad, this is so hard. I don't know if I can do it. And he would say, stop whining, study harder. And that's the essence.
So do you attribute a lot of your success to your work ethic and your persistence?
Oh, I consider all of it to that. I mean,
Mhm.
you know, that's why I wrote the book, you know, Can't Stop Me. My partner, and you know, a little bit of my muse motivated me to write this book because, you know, I mean, how does a kid, you know, whose father worked in a factory, you know, become not only a doctor, but then become the head of a public company? I
Mhm.
mean, it's because I just kept pushing to take myself to another level. But see, I believe that every person, every individual has that ability to accomplish their dreams. See, you know, so many of us are raised saying the sky is the limit, but really that's not true because
Mhm.
the sky is only as far as we can see, that the universe is infinite. And I believe that the
What we
potential,
can see that is even more powerful.
correct, that you know, listen, that's why we watch Star Trek and all these things, because we want to know about the unknown. Well, you know, it's good to know about the unknown in each and every one of us, because what I know about
Mhm.
people is that people all have that innate desire to succeed. They have
Mhm.
that innate desire to want to be better. I mean, I had the opportunity of watching you and your husband hitting golf balls, remember?
Yes.
And that's not always the easy experience, but why do you do that? Because you want to get better.
Mhm.
You know, you want to get better. And that's exactly in every, whether it be golf, whether it be business, whether it be parenting. We can always be better. We can always give more.
Mhm.
You know, Winston Churchill said, we make a living by what we get, and we make a
We
life by
live
what we
by
give.
what we give. Yes.
You know, and I follow that axiom. I try to follow that in every facet of my life, as do you, because it's very obvious in the time that I've known you, and the things that I've learned about you. I mean, how you started as a model. I mean,
Mhm.
very interesting, you know, background. I mean, it's like, you know, you've evolved. And I think that's what people need to do. I mean, give an example. Let's take every child. They evolve. They go from kindergarten, they go to grade school, then they go to high school, and then they go to college. And
Mhm.
then some go to graduate school. So imagine the education system teaches us that the more we stay in it, the more we can evolve. What
Mhm.
I learned and what I believed, I had a very great professor, Dr. Donald Gutstein, you know, who I always said he turned boys into men and men into doctors. He turned girls into women and women into doctors.
Mhm.
And, you know, he had the attitude, he would tell you all the time, like, hey, I remember I'd go to him when I was an intern and I'd say, Dr. Gutstein, what do you think of these x-rays? You know, this is a very important person. And he would say to me like this, oh, what are you going to do a year from now? Call me up and say, Dr. Gutstein, I got this patient here and I don't know what to do. Can you help me? He says, do your homework. He says, you have to keep studying. You have to keep working. He said,
Mhm.
this is not the end of your education. It's the beginning. And to this day, Monique, that's what I do. I mean, you know, being that what I do and teach disc injuries for Disc Centers of America, we're the number one disc universe in the United States of America. And what we do is we teach our doctors the enemy of great is good. It,
Mhm.
good is not good enough. I mean, you know, I give yourself a pat on the back for being a doctor. I said, take your hand, put it behind your back, pat yourself on the back. You're a doctor.
What are you gonna do, right?
Now, exactly right. Now, what are you going to do? And
And you are a fantastic doctor. So tell me a little bit more about that, because I know that you have an alternative approach to how you treat your patients with disc issues. And I'm very curious about that.
well, you know, I've been, Monique, in the journey that we call life, I've been very, very blessed. So there was a doctor. His name was Dr. Norman Shealy, and I'm actually working on another book with my partner and Dr. Shealy. Dr. Shealy is an icon. He was a neurosurgeon. Uh, did his residency at Harvard and eventually
Mhm.
taught at Harvard Medical School. And what Dr. Shealy said early on, he said, you know what, back surgery doesn't work. And, you know, we can simply look at someone like Tiger Woods, who's had the best of all doctors, and he's already had 5 back surgeries. So
Mhm.
Dr. Shealy, who also developed the TENS unit, which everybody knows of, the household word, who has 500 published papers, probably one of the most published in the world. He
Mhm.
happened in my meetings and dealings. We developed a relationship, and he started mentoring me. And he helped develop a piece of equipment called non-surgical spinal decompression, where you
Mhm.
can actually, through computer, you can actually open that disc up without having surgery. And that was an amazing statement. So from there, I mean, you have studies like the Leslie study from the Mayo Clinic that shows an
Mhm.
88% success rate. The Shealy Bergmeyer study shows an 89% success rate. The
Mhm.
McClure study shows a 90% success rate of pre-surgical cases. So
Mhm.
now what people are learning is, listen, I always used to tell my patients, Monique, the difference between major surgery and minor surgery is minor surgery happens to somebody else.
Yeah.
When it's you, it's major. Anything can go wrong. So if there's a way that we can avoid surgery and help the patient, and that's what we do. And currently we have 167 clinics throughout the United States. I learned the power of the brand being the president of Nutrisystem. And we espouse that. But, you know, what's the theme of our doctors? Being the best. I mean, they're going to be the most trained. They're going to be the most thorough. They're going to be the most dedicated. And we do ongoing training. And it's not like optional. You know, like, oh, well, maybe I'll come. Maybe. No. If you want to be part of our system, you have to be there. And, you know, we deal with leading orthopedic surgeons. We deal with leading neurologists. We deal with leading anesthesiologists, all working to develop an alternative. Not that surgery, as Dr. Sheila would say, surgery is, of course, sometimes necessary. But, you know, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And if you take the United States, let's say, versus the United Kingdom, we have 5 times the amount of back surgeries. 5 times. You know, there should be some algorithm. There should be some levels of equality. But, you know, let's be honest. You know, back surgery is big business. It's high revenue. But, you know, the doctor has to understand the value of the patient, and anything that we can do non-surgically, you know, anything we do. Like so many people, Monique, they go for epidurals. And I say this to your audience, so you know, so if anyone tells you that, know that epidurals are not FDA approved for back pain. It's an off-label injection. Of which
well, you'll be happy to know that I had 2 natural childbirths. I did it.
Well, actually,
I wasn't going to take the epidural.
You know, but that's who you are, Monique. I mean, you know, you are. Listen, you know, when I look at your history from Paris on down, you know, you are a very dedicated person. And obviously, you know, what I talk about in my book, Can't Stop Me, is that comes from confidence. And confidence can come from failing and then overcoming failing. When Napoleon Hill went to Thomas Edison, and he said, you know, or how does it feel to have failed 1,000 times before you develop the light bulb? And Thomas Edison said, no, I never failed. I discovered 1,000 ways that wouldn't work. How brilliant is that? You know, and the fact is he never gave up. And eventually, thanks to him, we're here live on television. So it all began with that.
That's right. So right back to that persistence and work ethic. I have so many people say to me all the time, you know, Monique, you have 2 children. You've got this going on in your life. You know, you're not 20 years old anymore, but you're still pursuing a country music career. You know, when are you going to give up? I said, never. Why am I going to give up? I have a message to share.
And first of all, not only that you have that, you have a talent. And, you know, God's gift to man, Monique, is what is life. And man and woman's gift to God is what we do with our life. I mean, even if you go through the Kabbalah says we're supposed to keep growing, you know, and it says it's the rocks in the river that give the river its music. I mean, it's not always going to be easy, but, you know, as you know, you enjoy helping people. I mean, listen, look at what we're doing today. You and I sitting here, and we could be outside playing golf, but we're here trying to motivate, inspire others. My goal today on this show, and I look at the audience, if you get one little thing out of today, that's one thing more than you had from yesterday.
That's right.
And you accumulate those one things, and guess what? Soon you have a lot of things. And that's the secret of success.
Is having a bag full of things.
Things. We love things. My wife says, Monique, my middle name is More. I always want more.
Yeah, but more in a good way. And you're always giving more too. I mean, you're a fantastic community leader as well. You do so much for others. And we're so blessed to have you here now in the Sunshine State. I know you're originally a Jersey boy. What is it with the Jersey boys? Is there something in the water? There's just so many driven people come out of New Jersey.
You know, I think, Monique, like anything else, it really depends on where you're from, which is what you said, where you're raised. You know, to me, I think my environment was not a great environment. I mean, I talk about it in my book, Can't Stop Me. I mean, my high school was a war zone. I mean, you imagine, I went to a high school where you could never use the swimming pool. You could never use the showers because there was always like muggings and drug dealings going on.
Wow.
My goal, Monique, was to get out of Jersey City. But you know what? That's the amazing thing about life. Now the real estate in Jersey City is going through the roof because it's so close to Manhattan. When I grew up, it was a dump. Trust me when I tell you. I said, I went out of here. How do I get out of here? And I knew at that point athletics was my way out. And I eventually got a basketball scholarship to Fairleigh Dickinson University, and recently got honored, for my work, which is very, very nice. But I think, Monique, what we need to do is we need to find something that we like, find something that we love, and then mirror it. Meaning there are little Moniques out there, right? And they're going to say, you know what? I want to be like her. And that's what motivates you. The little Moniques of the world, the little Erics of the world. Hopefully you want to grow up and be a good father and a good husband and a good doctor or a lawyer or a congressman. I mean, that's what we're here to do. The Kabbalah talks about growing, and we're here to grow as people because, all you and I are doing, Monique, is we're laying the groundwork for the next generations, and if they don't come through with the same work ethics, where will we be? And where will they be?
And where will their children be and the future of this world be?
So, and that's, I think that should be, because, Monique, if my father was not a great businessman, meaning he didn't know how to make money. And I remember, Monique, one time when I first moved to Florida, and I got my father to move down here. And I'm meeting all these wealthy people, Monique, that are second generation wealth. And they're very wealthy people. And wrongly, and I say this, I was maybe feeling my oats, and I said to my dad, I said, Dad, what is it? Why didn't you make it? I mean, I'm looking at these other men. You're so much far superior than they are. What went wrong? And he said, come with me. And he takes me to the car. And then he takes me to the beach, the Lake Worth beach.
Yes.
And he says, you see this beach? I own this beach. And he takes some sand. He leans over. He throws some sand at me. You want some sand? Take as much as you want. You want to invite your friends to my beach? Invite all your friends. Anyone can come. He says, now, all my friends that look to build fences on their beach, they're all dead. He said, you want a book? I'll take you to the library. He said, whatever you want, we have all the resources, all the tools are at all of our disposal. What I would say, and my father said to me, don't give me reasons, give me results. Right. And I've told that to my children their whole life. One of the books I wanted to write, Monique, you write songs.
I always say focus on the solution, not the problem. That's what I tell my children.
And it's right. So I was going to write a book called All You Can Do Is All You Can Do. And the publisher didn't like it. He said, no. And then I came up with the 5-minute motivator that became a #1 bestseller. But what I used to say to my kids, did you do all you could do? And it's amazing how they would answer, well, Dad, I could have studied harder, or, Dad, I could have done this, or I could have been a little. And I said, well, now you know what you have to do. So I say to you listeners out there, in anything that you do and talking to your children, always say to yourself, did you do your best? Did you do your best? I mean, and if you ever read a great book that you should all read, besides my books, which you'll all enjoy, is The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Yes.
And one of the agreements is be the best you can be. And Monique, I'm far from perfect, but I do know that I'm the best me I could be. And that's my goal. And the goal to every person out there watching, listening, is to be the best you can be. I mean, you don't have to. My father was not a great moneymaker, but he was a great father. You can be a great father and make a difference, because those are the seeds that you're planting for the future.
And you can be just the great version of you every day, no matter where you go, and you can change the world, I feel, with just a smile. You can change someone's day with just a smile. Sometimes you just don't know what people are going through, and that's part of my message is, get out, live, love, not when it's convenient, but every day.
Well, I mean, my wife and I listened to one of your songs today. I said, this is whose radio show I'm going to do. And she thought you were fantastic. And
that's why I love her.
I will. And but she saw, because what you did, you could tell from the videos, Monique, you did it with a passion, and passion comes from heart. It comes from there. You weren't just reading the lines and going through the motions. And that's what I try to teach my doctors. That's what I teach my children. when in doubt, look into your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to handle it. Trust your instincts. And that's where that inner, I say we have a conscious, we have a subconscious, but we also have, Monique, is a superconscious.
Yes.
And the superconscious is the dream maker. It's not a dream stealer, because it says, you know what, I want to do this and I want to do that. And everybody can do that. Your imagination does create your reality. The world is at your fingertips, and nobody can make it better than you. And once you realize that in your hands, in your heart, in your head, you have the ability to do anything that you want. However, it's not always going to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you're going to get rejected,
Mm-hmm.
and listen, I think the first time I asked my wife out, she rejected me, but I didn't give up. I said,
I wouldn't imagine you did.
I didn't give up. And
So
here we are today, 41 years later. I'm the luckiest man in the world.
So you've been one of the top business coaches, motivational speakers. You have someone who comes to you and they just have an I can't mentality. How do you help them go within and into that heart space?
I actually had one.
That.
I actually had one today, Monique. And I told this person, I said, listen, winners never whine and whiners never win. I said, you have to decide, if you're going to make it. I tell the story in my book of the man who had a donkey fell into the hole.
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't get it out. He couldn't do anything. And, the donkey was now lying on the ground, totally exhausted. So he figured, you know what, I'm just going to bury him, so that the vultures don't get him. And he started throwing dirt on the donkey. But you know what? Every time all of a sudden the donkey stood up. And the more dirt he threw onto the donkey, the higher the dirt came. And eventually the donkey was able to climb out. Listen, Monique, you're an entertainer. I'm a businessman. We all have had our areas of rejection. But that didn't stop you. It didn't stop you. It didn't stop me. Actually, like you said, it made you better. It made you stronger. I always say, if you want to lead the band, you got to face the music. I mean, it's just the way it is. And even if you fall flat on your face, you're still moving forward. And I think that's what people need to do. So, and that's what I tell people. Monique, as I wrote in my book, Dying to Be Young, I was once 100% paralyzed. And the one thing I've told my children, and I say it sincerely, come to me for love, come to me for encouragement, but don't come to me for sympathy. Because sympathy is a dream stealer. I was told, my wife was told, that we were going to live the rest of our lives in a wheelchair on a ventilator. And I said, no. And I had to learn to walk again, talk again, breathe again. I mean, I discuss some of this in the book, Can't Stop Me. I go through it in detail, but, I didn't want that look in people's eyes where they look at you like.
I wasn't able to read the whole book. Tell me a little bit about what happened.
Well, it's something that I only for you will I talk about it. Yeah. My wife and I went for cosmetic injections. I'm not going to mention any names, but everyone knows the name. And the doctor tried to play with the substance a little bit, and we each became 100% paralyzed. I was on a ventilator for 10 weeks, and they said I probably would never walk again. I'd probably live the rest of my life on a ventilator. And I didn't accept that reality. I just didn't accept it. Yeah. And I wouldn't let my wife accept it because she's smaller than me and was more frail. So that's what I'm saying, Monique. Listen, we're dealing with a tough time in the United States. We have a lot of people that deal with COVID. And the only reason that I wrote it in the book, Monique, is it's a chapter of my life I don't like to discuss. But I'll share anything with you and TJ.
Thank you.
But what I did is because of COVID now, there are a lot of people that are going through trying times. And if you are, you will get well. 99.8% chance you're going to get well. But you know what? It's going to be a fight. And you're going to have to struggle. And you're going to have to get tough. And you have to dig deep. But you know what? What's a football game? If you don't get hit, it's not football. You're going to get hit in life. And the fact that we as a country, we as a people, I mean, I've had so many people that have overcome COVID. Fortunately, no one in my personal life was taken as a result of it. But I know many people, Monique, that struggled. you know, and I would tell them, get out there and start walking, build your lungs back up, because I had some that had to go for oxygen and areas. So, there's a lot of things. What I talk about is in my book, Awaken the Wellness Within, which you have, is I said, basically, if all of your cells are healthy, then you're healthy.
Over here. Yeah.
It's about cellular health, meaning the secret to health is building your immunity. That's why they're saying now people that are overweight are more prone. People that are smokers are more prone. People that have health histories. Well, you know what? I used to always say to people that, with this problems, back problems, when you go to the mall and you see someone riding around in a scooter, they didn't start in a scooter. They started in a playground, going on slides and enjoying themselves. Somewhere they stopped, Monique, taking care of themselves. I'm a little older than you. I'm 69 years young, and I'm up this morning. I already lifted weights. I swam in the pool, and I hate it. And people say, "What? I hate Monique. I hate it." But I remember I'm doing a lecture for Arnold Schwarzenegger in Columbus, Ohio, at the Arnold Classic, and who am I sitting with at lunch? Was the great. He was the juicer. Oh God, I lost his name for a second. It'll come back to me. Not Ron Popeil. Who's the guy who did the juicer? You know who I'm talking about.
I know who you're talking about, but the name is not coming.
I know, this is terrible. It's going to talk to me. Ask me another question. I'm going to come back to this.
Okay, so what comes up for me is there's a lot of focus on the physical health, but there's also the mental health. Which do you think plays a bigger role?
It's a fair question, Monique. I think they go hand in hand. I mean, it goes back to the red dog and the white dog. I mean, listen, people have to want to be healthy, and let me tell you something. You know what depression is really, Monique? It's people living in the past, not living in the future. They're replaying the tapes of all the bad things. Or the people that say, I should have done this. I should have done that. I should have done this. I should have done that. And I say in my book, stop shooting all over yourself. I mean, attitude. I'm
going to change that from sometimes good, sometimes should, instead of the other word.
Well, right. And I think the reality is that it starts with attitude. People with a good attitude, it's the little things in life that make a big difference. And a positive mental attitude does make a big difference.
And it makes a big difference in your health. I'm a firm believer that if you don't have strong mental fortitude, then the body won't be as strong.
Well, now my Alzheimer's kicked back out, and the person I'm talking about was I'm at lunch at the Columbus with Jack LaLanne.
Okay.
And Jack was in his upper 70s at the time, and he looks at me and he says, Dr. Kaplan, do you know that I exercise for 3 hours a day, every day? And I hate it.
Now, is there a limit where it can become too much as well?
I think excess is anything. But I said to him, why do you do it? You know what his answer was? Because I'm Jack LaLanne. So every day when I jump in the pool and I say, I hate this, I say, I'm Eric Kaplan. Nobody wants a fat doctor, especially when I was the president of Nutrisystem. Imagine coming in with a big belly. Hey, I think we need to sell some weight loss today. I mean, how good would that go over? I wouldn't have made your podcast. You'd have said, no, we don't. Anybody can lose weight. Anybody can be healthier. Anybody can be smarter. It's not all innately driven, innately given.
It begins with making a choice.
Listen, even with your success, you make choices every day. You're always, I've watched you. You're always working on your craft. You're always working on your, like you said, you do so many things. You went from a model to a singer to a parent, and you look to inspire your children. And, I got to meet one of your daughters that day, and, she was dressed like a little Monique. I mean, she was adorable. I mean, I remember Monique, when, I worked with the Trump family for many, many, many years. And I used to tell people, some people like them, some people don't like them. Listen, life's not about politics. As a doctor, when someone came into my office, I didn't care if they were Republican or Democrat. I cared if they would cash a check. I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, we have, the ability, and one of the things that I respected about President Trump, and I don't want to get into politics, was his commitment.
Yes.
Like him or not like him, he gave 100% of himself. And that to me is what a leader should do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not, we are not here to judge everything of every person all the time. I tell people you need to judge one thing. You need to judge yourself.
Yourself.
Are
Exactly.
you being the best you can be? Are you
And
being the best father?
And that is the best message. And you have so many great messages. I could keep you on here for an hour, and I'm so grateful for all the time you've given me today. But I do want to know, because I didn't get a chance to get to this wonderful book yet, 5 Minutes to Wellness.
What do you want to know?
Can you tell me that in two?
Well, 5 Minutes to Wellness really was, I wrote a book called The 5 Minute Motivator, which became a #1 bestseller. And I think if you want to get a positive mental mindset, The 5 Minute Motivator is very positive. And then some people asked me about some, supplements and whatever. So, I wrote a book, 5 Minutes to Wellness. I had the opportunity to lecture to the people from Isogenics, wonderful company, wonderful family, out of Utah. And in that book, I tried to put together a program, okay, 5 pillars of health that people could work on. And that led to actually my book, Awakening to Wellness Within, which led to Cellular Health. And I think that's so important, because if you have healthy cells, you have a healthy body. And I think that if anyone says, well, what vitamin would I take more than anything? I would tell them omega-3s. Why? Because omega-3 protect the cells. And I think now, as we're going through a pandemic, I think if you want to protect your cells more than anything else, yes, we heard about zinc. Yes, we heard about vitamin C. And let me tell you, they won a Nobel Prize for that. But I'm going to tell you, omega-3s protect your cells. And now we need cellular health. If all your cells are healthy, then you're a healthy person.
Wow, I learned something new.
Okay.
I learned a lot of new things, but I didn't know that piece as well. So thank you so much. So the 5 Minute Motivator, everybody should get a copy of this. Everyone should get a copy of Can't Stop Me. Go to, it's drkaplan.com. And then I guess they can find you as well on Instagram and Twitter. What other platforms?
I'm actually, shame on me, I'm not on Instagram, because I am on Twitter. I have at Dre Kaplan. For my book, Can't Stop Me, it's cantstopme.net. They can watch a great video. And I think I go through the 5 facets of health, which are, mental attitude, exercise, proper rest, proper nutrition, and proper amount of sleep. And, when you go through that, and of course, we live in Florida, and everybody knows you don't know how many illnesses, of course, because people become dehydrated. So, I'm not doing a commercial for Fiji, but I love their water. I love the product.
I got Zephyr Hills. How am I doing?
Right. Well, Zephyr Hills is good too. It's a local source. And even with honey, honey is always best if it's indigenous to the area, if the bees are indigenous to the area, because people don't realize before there was, antibiotics. Give you an example, Monique. Antibiotics didn't become available in the United States or in the world until after 1945. So prior to 1945, what did people do? There was no antibiotics. And one of the healing sources used to be honey. So honey is a phenomenal source of healing. Look it up. Look up Dr. Norman Shealy. And if you haven't been to Monique's, I'm now going to plug Monique. If you haven't been to her website, heard her songs.
A little shameless plug for me.
No, it's not, because I'm going to tell you, my wife, who's my toughest critic, Monique. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, even before you read any of those books, my wife had to read them first. And she would go like this. So she'd say, So
which book would she say is the best one and everyone should start with?
Well, if you ask me the 2 best books, I think she loves my new book because it's new and it tells a lot about us and about our life. Can't Stop Me. And my other favorite book, between you and I, is The 5-Minute Motivator. Yeah, it's good. And The 5-Minute Motivator is also a great book. And listen, anytime you want me back, I'll always be glad to do this for you.
I could have you on all day, every day, and you cannot be stopped. Nothing can stop you, as we've all heard today. Nothing can stop Dr. Kaplan. Nothing should stop any of you, because all of you have your unique self within. So get out there and live and love. Before I let you go, though, Dr. Kaplan, I have one question I ask all of my guests. As a country music singer, songwriter, I always like to know, what is the one song that speaks to your heart and sums up the essence of your being?
There are so many songs from so many artists. I mean, I love Chicago. I'm old school. I happen to love James Taylor. I love songs that deal with it, and I couldn't say one song, but I can name a lot of artists that have moved me. I'll tell you, my favorite is Andrea Bocelli.
I love Andrea Bocelli.
Most of his songs are in Italian. He asked me for the name. La Toscana is so great. The album was so good it made my wife and I go to Tuscany. And I look at the thing, and it says living and loving. And I say in my book, the new one, I start every lecture off. I say life is for living, loving, laughing, and learning, not just for whining, worrying, and working. So
and
living
that is
loving means a lot to me.
So true. And Andrea Bocelli sang the song Vivere. You know that song?
I know every one of his songs.
Nessuno mai ce l'ha insegnato. That means live. No one's ever taught us how.
It's funny, when I went to high school, Monique, you had to take languages, and I had a very nasty Spanish teacher. I joke about it in the book, but I'm a little bit Italian, and I think that my family didn't want me taking the Italian classes because when they could curse, they didn't want me to understand what they were saying. But and like I said, I can listen to Andrea Bocelli, and although I do not speak Italian fluently, and I listen to his music and his passion, and you know what? To me, he's probably my favorite artist, and I'm going to tell you why, Monique. How do you go? Think about what I'm going to tell you, because I was once paralyzed. I told you that. Here's a man who was blind.
Yes.
And he wasn't able to watch television and see, your beauty or your talent or so many or Cher, who's older than you, and so many people. And yet in his brain and that super conscious, somehow he knew he could sing. I mean, how? Think about what I'm telling you is his world was of darkness, and yet he saw the light.
And he lives as he sees the light. The first time I ever saw him perform, I was in Verona at the Colosseum.
Oh God, you're so lucky.
I forget which show, but it was up. He had to climb the stairs up a platform, and he did it as if he could see every step of the way. And I was blown away by that. That was inspirational for me. That has changed so much of the way I see the world.
Well,
based on that one experience when I was young.
So imagine, Monique, what it was like when he was a little Andrea Bocelli. Before he had the best of coaches and the best of people, he had to learn to do all of this on his own. And then someone had to hear him sing sometime and say, you know what? You have something. Now here's the guy who's blind. What do I have? Keep singing. And eventually, so to me, my favorite artist is Andrea Bocelli. You're number 2 right now.
I love you for that. I'll take it. You know what?
Yes.
I'll be second to Andrea Bocelli. No problem.
Really? I mean, you know what I said to you earlier. I see great. You're just a very super talented person, a great mother, great everything. I'm thrilled to be on your show, and I enjoyed our time.
Thank you so much. Well, I know you have 2 sons. You don't have a daughter. Do you want to adopt me? You're so inspirational. So
thanks. I wanted a daughter, but I have two granddaughters now, so I'm doing okay.
You are so blessed in so many ways. Well, I look forward to spending more time together after the podcast. If you could stay on for a moment, I'd love to just have a quick chat with you in private, ask you a couple of other questions.
My pleasure.
And say a quick, salute to you and your family as well. So thank you so much, everyone. Please thank Coach Dr. Eric Kaplan. You know what? Get out there and see what's beyond. Sky is not the limit. Find your unknown and be the best version of you that you can be, because that's what we're here to do. Live and love and be the best that we can be for ourselves and for the people that are around us, our fellow men and women. Love you all. Again, another episode of Living and Loving with yours truly, Monique McCall, country singer, songwriter, recording artist. Have a beautiful, blessed day, everyone. Super big hugs. Love you all.
You take me Everything.